Morning, everyone. My name is John Brusiak, General Manager and CEO of the Public Utilities Board, and I will be the Master of Ceremonies for you this morning. If I could ask everyone to come in and please take a seat or move inside the tent area, and we'll go ahead and get started. First thing I'd like to do is ask everyone to stand and will join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin today, I would like to take the opportunity to recognize the following for their continued vision and support of this important undertaking. From the Brownsville City Commission, we have Mayor Tony Martinez, Estela Chavez Vasquez, Commissioner at Large A, Dr. Rose Gowan, Commissioner at Large B. Thank you. From City Management, Charlie Kabler, City Manager. Pete Gonzalez, Deputy City Manager. Jeff Johnson, Assistant City Manager, if Jeff's here. My Board of Directors, the PUB Board of Directors, Mr. Enrique Najarat, Chairman. Thank you. Oscar D. Garcia, Vice Chairman. Noemi Garcia, Secretary Treasurer. Emmanuel Vasquez, our board member. And again, Tony Martinez, our Mayor ex officio board member of the PUB. Also some PUB executive manager, Mr. Fernando Saenz, the Assistant General Manager and Chief Operating Officer. Sorry, I missed Arturo. One of our board members, Arturo Furius, our board member. Sorry, Arturo. Thank you. I'd also like to address some distinguished guests that we have in the audience. From our Consumer Advisory Panel, PubCap, Mr. Jerry Klinger. Jerry? Thank you. Also, Nick Tipton. Nick. From the BISD Board of Trustees, Minerva Pena. Minerva. And from Congress Filemon Vela's office, Resaca Cortez, Chief of Staff. Resaca, thank you. And if I've missed anybody, I'll pick them up during the ceremony if they've come in late. Okay, restoring the ecological integrity of our resacas for the betterment of Brownsville has been a long-term vision of the Public Utilities Board and the City Commission. The BPUB Board's decision about the resacas are made in light of the commitment and connection that we share with the City Fathers, the community, and all our partners who understand the resacas' role in the future of Brownsville. We know that this project is worthwhile, especially in light of the continued drought in South Texas. Funding for the project is part of the long-term plan and again possible with the support of the City Commission and the PUB Board. The dredging solution is a sound one based on data, evidence, and experiences. The project's success requires the acceptance and continued support to make it happen. To begin our program today, I'd like to welcome Mayor and ex officio board member of the PUB, Mayor Tony Martinez.
Thank you, John, and as is my wont and custom, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out to be here today. And I would like to invite all of you churchgoers that's always sit in the back of the church to please come and take some seats, and that includes my staff. There we go. Come on, we'll start with my staff. Come on, guys. Anybody who doesn't have to be in the back, why don't we stand up here, sit up here, and I'll tell you why I asked you to do that. I was here last night, and I watched a lot of the PUB employees, including those gentlemen back there, Rene and a host of other folks, and the city people. Santana, your group was here. They did a beautiful job in cleaning this whole place up. They put a sign out here for the old city cemetery. I was kind of hoping that we would next time, whatever the next event, we had an event yesterday for the Belden Trail with Commissioner Gowan, and we were able to get the Skinner young people at the event, and they were thrilled to be there. So next time, guys, when we have an event, make sure we have some kids so they can understand what it's like to be civically engaged and understand that they're part of the community. They had a great time. Some of the kids from Cummings came by last night, and they're going like, "Boss, is there any way you can get us out of school so we can come over here?" But I couldn't do that. Anyway, I have the pleasure of not only being the mayor, but also a member of the PUB. When I first arrived at my office, one of the projects that brought my attention was the Resaca Restoration. And so, as all of us, we'd like to think that this is our idea, but this idea has been here for a long time. What will happen, and I want to recognize David Morales, who was on the PUB board when we started out on this project. And I want to thank all the former PUB board members that were instrumental in preparing these plans and setting it up for the future. We just happened to get lucky and were able to have the resources to get this project started, and we had the political will with the wonderful board that we have today. I think many of us went around the country to take a look at these dredging operations throughout the nation, and we all were convinced that this was something we had to do. I'm going to give you some of my prepared remarks just simply because I'll forget otherwise, but our resacas are part of who we are in Brownsville. I don't know that I haven't left this town and gone to my various travels, but it's always a real thrill when the airplane kind of lands and comes back and you take a look at the landscape and you see all the resacas, and you have people who are not from this area ask you, "What are those?" And there's a variety of reasons that people say, "What are those?" And you basically tell them that the resacas are riverbeds that, because the way the Rio Grande meandered throughout the history of the city of Brownsville, they were left aside, and what the city of Brownsville very intelligently did was to connect those resacas and make them part of their water system. So the only thing that we weren't progressive enough was that we didn't kind of maintain them, and so consequently we have resacas that are probably an average of about 18 inches deep. Well, with this restoration project that we have going, not only is it a project of ecological significance, it also becomes something that we all are acutely aware of in Texas, and that is the drought that we are presently experiencing. And we have, I think they call it extreme drought or something, but even further up the valley, it's even worse than it is here in Brownsville. So we have the opportunity, and I know that it's been trying to rain for the last 2 or 3 days, and we're all kind of praying that it will rain. But maybe after this ceremony, when we get the engine started, that'll break up the clouds and bring us some rain. What you're going to see today is really quite exciting from many different aspects. Most of you that deal with water, like Dr. Jude Benitez, knows not only the importance, but also the ability to have this project get underway because of all the silt and all the debris that sits in our resacas. I don't think I had the opportunity, and some of you may have taken this opportunity, is when you get a chance, go behind PUB. There's a resaca over there on Kingsway, which we started out sometime in December, I think, John, was it December? And in order for us to do it right, we have the group from the PUB who's very excited about this work, try it out so that we wouldn't fail. And the company Genesis, who has a representative here, likewise helped us to get trained in this effort. In any event, you're going to see a noticeable difference. And once we get through with this particular exercise and we talk a little bit about what we're going to do, and other people are going to speak after me, but you're going to see we're going to get a chance to go from this side over to the other side where the cleansing, actually you'll see the gush of water that's all black and it looks like oil, and then come out crystal clear like the water that you're drinking from some of that have been provided to you. And so, that being said, I think that what we really need to do, and like I told you from the very beginning, I appreciate all of you being here, but I want you to go out and be ambassadors of this Restoration Resaca project. I want you to go out there and tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell the people at church, you know, come by and let me show you what's happening in Brownsville, because this is one of many efforts with this wonderful commission that we have that are going to move forward and show the world what Brownsville can be like. Anyway, without further ado, I'm honored to introduce to you the PUB Board Chairman, Enrique Nájera, and thank you so much for listening.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. And welcome to the launching of the Resaca Restoration Project. The project, which has been several years in the making, like the mayor said right now, you know, it's not just this commission, this board, but it's been several years and several boards have been discussing this. I recall one, roughly around 3 years ago, after a meeting, Mr. Brusiak, some board members and myself, we were just talking about looking at ways to enhance our city. And Mr. Brusiak brought up the idea as far as, you know, restoring the resacas. The talk had been going on for several years. And we said, you know what, let's find a way to do this. So we started looking at options, and we found, you know, the monies, we found the resources. And you know, what started as a conversation 3 years ago, you know, has now become a reality. So, I mean, that is something that will be ongoing for the next 20, 30, 40 years and will beautify Brownsville. You know, this dredging is the first of several dredgings that will take place here throughout the city of Brownsville. And in the past, you know, Resaca de la Guerra used to be a canal just to get water from the river to water plant number 2, which is located in the west side of Brownsville. And in the 1990s, there was a 36-inch pipeline that was built to transport that water, to conserve water, eliminate water losses. The Resaca system is still a backup transportation mode for our water supply, and PUB must continue to take care of these resacas. Our partnership with the City of Brownsville and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has afforded Brownsville PUB to go forward with the environmental commitment for an improved standard and quality of life for our citizens here in Brownsville. On behalf of the PUB Board of Directors, the management and staff, I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like Oscar Garcia, our Vice Chairman, to come up and make some remarks.
Good morning. Sorry about that, guys. Like everybody else said prior to me, you know, thank you all for coming out. This is a momentous occasion, frankly. Many folks around here have seen these and wondered, wow, you know, wouldn't it be nice to make these, restore these back to what their previous glory was. And I remember actually now sitting here getting a little nostalgic. Dr. Benitez, as he's commonly known, when we were growing up, Jude and I set out and did our Lewis and Clark, best Lewis and Clark impersonation with his canoe from his parents' house. And it was a challenge, getting that thing across streets, interrupting traffic flow. It was brutal. But from that moment on, we've always seen the beauty that are our resacas. And frankly, this is a moment that I've been waiting for all my life, as multiple generations have as well. But beyond, if we get a little bit beyond what we're actually doing here as far as the dredging and all the other pieces, we have two huge benefits. You're going to have the aesthetic benefit, of course, and then you're going to have the environmental benefit. But other pieces to this thing, and the mayor talked about it earlier. To make a region truly competitive, you have to have two key things, power and water. Well, as you all know, we announced earlier in January that we're going to be building a new power plant that happens to need this wonderful substance called water to keep it cool, right? So we're going to be using gray water from our wastewater plant to essentially cool this power plant of ours. It's a drought-proof source of water. We also have this other entity called the Southmost Regional Water Authority that essentially takes brackish groundwater and converts it into highly purified water for either drinking or for industrial use. What the resacas now bring to us is another opportunity for this region to really, and for the utility and for the city to hold more of the water that passes down our river. We can take that river water, put it into our resacas, being able to increase capacity, and thus increase our economic opportunities to be able to attract companies and the like in the future. The other huge benefit to us, frankly, is stormwater benefit, right? As they dredge out these resacas, you're going to create more capacity, and in areas, especially in this Old Town area, the areas of town that were built many, many moons ago that do suffer from perennial flooding and the like, and so some of the most at-risk neighborhoods and the like, by dredging these resacas will greater capacity to be able to accommodate more stormwater runoff. And that's important because as you create these, it's not just dredging the resacas, it's actually setting up the communication between the resacas so that they can actually be managed. Right now, that is faltered over the years. They used to be able to be managed, lowered, and raised. As we have a storm event out in the Gulf, which we are prone to have, we have now the opportunity to be able to better protect our citizenry. Also mitigating one of the big risks for other companies and the like looking to locate in our area. So in closing, one of the things I want to leave you all with is that since the dawn of man, great civilizations have all had one thing in common. Their civilizations and their cities have all grown up around one common element, and that's water. Cairo, Rome, all over the place, and then Brownsville, Texas as well. The water is that lifeblood that helps people grow crops. It was the connector and the medium in which people then took those crops and those merchants traded cotton, corn, and everything along those things. We have an opportunity to restore one of our most valued treasures. And as we sit here on this site, it's not accidental that we sit here where many of our city's founders lay. And we have an opportunity to restore what is something that is a treasure to our world here. And I look forward, along with the rest of the board, to being a part of this project as it continues forward over the next 5 to 10 years as this is finally restored. So thank you all again very much for coming out, for showing your support. We're just getting going. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. And I'll ask Arturo Furius, our board member, to please come up and make some comments.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen and honored guests. I'm Arturo Furius. I'm a proud citizen of Brownsville and a board member for the Brownsville Public Utility Board. The pivotal reason that we are here united on this breathtaking morning is to take time to celebrate and to reacquaint ourselves with our resacas. It is also a time to say thank you to the vision of the people of Brownsville and the Public Utility Board, especially the management of the board, Mr. Bruziak, Mr. Saenz, Ms. Gomez, Mr. Garcia, the City Commission. This is really a time to say thank you because this is really something special for us. When we describe Brownsville to a newcomer or a friend, we say Brownsville, by the border, by the sea. Maybe now we should rethink and consider saying Brownsville with our resacas, deep and beautiful, nuestras resacas profundas y hermosas. Everyone that lives or has lived in Brownsville has a noteworthy story to share their knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of our resacas. Simply said, the precious resource of those most visually and pictorially image of Brownsville is our resaca creations. My most memorable experience with my resaca was in 2000 when my family, as a birthday gift, gave me an orange kayak, headphones, an iPod, an orange life vest, and a whistle. Waking up at sunrise, the day after my birthday, I was gung-ho, ready to take on the resaca. Well, I found out real quickly that I was not made for kayaks. As I tried to get on the kayak, I immediately did a somersault, and there went my new headphones, new iPod. And that whistle, I guess my family knew what the whistle was for. It was so I could ask for help, right? Well, I got a real good taste of our resacas. Being totally immersed as I bid farewell to my headphones and my iPods, lost forever in the resaca. Now, who knows what treasures Rene Mariscal and our new Resaca Restoration Department that has been founded because of this project will recover during their impressive dredging mission. Today, we begin to rethink and restore our beautiful resacas. And as I ponder and reflect, I ask the question, why does restoring, conserving, and preserving our resacas mean so much to me? As for me, I can personally attest that I pay tribute to Town Resaca as I wake up in the morning, witnessing the glorious sunrise that majestically reflects on the serene resaca while taking notice of the ripple patterns produced by precious aquatic species and feathered friends is certainly a breathtaking experience. Our resacas are of fundamental value to our community, and they surround Brownsville's landscape with unique picturesque elements that citizens and newcomers recognize. The restoration of our resacas reintroduces us to a forgotten world where once these bodies of waters were the main living system for our magnificent ecology. They were the main doorway to a lush vegetation that had the vibrancy of bountiful plant and wildlife. For now, we can close our eyes and only obtain a glimpse of our resacas when they were at their full potential. Today, we start restoring that hope. Step by step, we begin the journey together. The Resaca Restoration Project reawakens the belief that we choose to live in Brownsville and that we are a community that elects to take care of its resacas because they are the most precious ecological living system that makes us so unique. The only concern that seems to be gnawing at me is when the PUB employees start dredging the resacas inside our zoo. We are going to have to make sure that we account for all PUB employees at day's end, because you never know if PUB's brave experts dredging the resacas will be coerced by the zoo's four-legged friends to remain as companions. As I close, and we are now walking together in restoring our resacas, let us be mindful that in doing so, we access a greater wisdom. Together, we will restore our resacas, restore our thriving selves and the city of Brownsville. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Furius. Before we go on to our next speaker, I did want to recognize a couple other distinguished guests that have arrived. BISD Superintendent, Dr. Carl Montoya. Doc, thank you for being here. And also Dr. David Morales, our former board member. Doc, I didn't see you walk in. So, our next speaker is going to talk an overview of the project. Anne Marie Whitco is a project manager with the Ambiotech Engineering Group and was part of the engineering process that made this project possible. So, Anne, please come up.
Thank you, John. Good morning, Mayor, members of the board, BPUB staff, and invited guests. Over the course of the last 18 months, the Ambiotech team has had the privilege of working with the Brownsville Public Utilities Board in conjunction with Dr. Bob Brandis and Atkins Consulting on this important project to help restore Brownsville area resacas. The project is important to the region for many reasons, including increased raw water supply capacity, improved flood protection, enriched quality of aquatic and terrestrial habitat, opportunities for economic development, improved recreational activities, enhanced water quality, support for science, education, and environmental stewardship, and overall improved city aesthetics. However, to achieve these goals and make this project a reality, there were a number of challenges that needed to be addressed. Amongst the most critical of these included limited space adjacent to resaca sites for work access, limited available working hours due to the urban setting, care to not remove material below the natural bottom of the clay liner, transport logistics, operational efficiency and cost effectiveness, and finally, one of our biggest challenges was in dealing with the high clay content in the accumulated sediment that is being removed. This is problematic because clay particles are very fine and do not quickly settle out of the water, which makes treatment more difficult and more expensive. To deal with this challenge, a great amount of time and effort was spent researching available technologies for separating the suspended clay particles from the water. The technology selected was the Genesis rapid dewatering system, which, based on our analysis, proved to be the most reliable, effective, and cost-effective approach. The Genesis system provides a quick dewatering operation that separates the material into sand, fine components, and coarse debris that can be reused in other applications. It produces very dry solids, which cost less to haul away, and it returns water to the resacas that is cleaner than when it was first taken out. The overall restoration process begins with the removal of accumulated bottom sediment within the resaca with the use of one of two hydraulic dredges. The larger of the two dredges, which is the one that you see to my left, will be utilized for the larger resaca sites, including Cemetery Resaca and Dean Porter Park Resaca. The smaller dredge, called the crawler, which is the one behind you, was specifically designed to maneuver through the tighter confines of the Gladys Porter Zoo. The resulting slurry of water and bottom sediment that is suctioned through the dredge then heads into a flexible hose that will run through the center of the resaca, through culverts, and up to our dewatering site off of Old Alice Road behind the Gladys Porter Zoo. The slurry is then run through a series of treatment processes that remove coarse debris, sand particles, and finally the clay material from the water. The clean water is then returned to the resaca, and the dry, coarse debris, sand, and clay particles are trucked off for either disposal at the landfill or temporary storage at an off-site location prior to final use. Possible uses include daily cover at the landfill, landscaping material, construction fill, or compost material. Phase 1 of this project will begin right here at Cemetery Resaca. The estimated time of completion of this site is between 2 to 3 months and is largely dependent on weather and the number of stoppages caused by large debris removal for such things as automobile tires, shopping carts, and the like. After City Cemetery is dredged, we'll start on Gladys Porter Zoo with the smaller remote-controlled dredge. This is estimated to take between 3 to 4 months for completion. Dean Porter Park will be next after the zoo. This is the largest of the 3 sites with deeper sediment depth profiles and is estimated to take upwards of 5 to 6 months. Right now, we're in the startup phase of the project. We are working with BPUB staff and other contractors to optimize the overall operations and improve the cost efficiency and effectiveness of the project. Our team is currently working in conjunction with BPUB staff to identify phase 2 dredging sites. Once these sites are identified, our team will collect field data, prepare a technical report for submittal to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for approval and continuation of the project at other sites. To conclude, this project has been a long time coming. The resacas are one of our community's greatest resources, and there's a great need to restore these features to the benefit of the community and the natural ecosystem. It is only through the leadership, vision, and persistence of Brownsville Public Utilities Board staff and board members that this project, a third of an amazing run of projects, has come to fruition. Combined, these important community projects can effectively aid in attracting private sector investment to our community, making Brownsville a more competitive city and a better place for all. Thank you.
And thank you very much. And now to talk a little bit on project operations, I want to introduce Michael Hodges, Chairman and CEO of Genesis Fluid Systems. Without Michael's equipment, as you'll see today, we probably wouldn't be here today. He's got some very unique equipment that's well made for our Resaca dredging operation, and we'll hear a little bit on that from Mike. Mike, please.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Genesis has truly felt like a partnership has been developed between ourselves and the city fathers in approaching this project. We understand the importance of it, and we're dedicated toward the successful completion of this project somewhere down the line. so that, that these resacas could be restored. These kinds of things hit home to me because I live in El Paso County, which is the home of Colorado Springs. This past week, the city fathers unfortunately had to let the community know that they were going to cut off all water to farms and ranches for lack of storage water. What we're doing here is an attempt, not just an attempt, but we'll fulfill the mission of restoring these resacas to their depth and beauty, not only for the aquatic and environmental benefits, but also for the, especially the water storage capability, so that this community will have more than enough water as it goes along. You always bump into funny things when you clean up waterways. One of the first waterways I worked on was Humboldt Park in downtown Chicago. We turned the dredge on and hundreds of thousands of hypodermic needles came up out of the dredge flow. Something we weren't anticipating, but something we had to deal with. While water costs have increased dramatically in the past 5 years, we recognize that these kinds of operations, and since we've had this dialogue with the city of Brownsville, with a number of other cities that want to do the same thing for their ports, harbors, rivers, and canal systems. Last year, the city of Brownsville made the commitment to clean, deepen, and restore the critical resacas of this beautiful city. Since that time, our company, Genesis Water, has been engaged with cities and ports nationwide to deepen, cleanse, and restore the sedimented and contaminated ports, lakes, and waterway facilities. We are proud to work with the people and government officials to recover these historic and critical waterways and provide clean water storage for the citizens of Brownsville. Thank you very much for having us here.
Michael, thank you. Next, I'd like to have Dr. Jude Benitez with the University of Texas at Brownsville come up and talk on the environmental and educational aspects of the Resaca Restoration Project. Jude?
Good morning, everybody. How's everyone today? It's a beautiful day today, and I'm really, really happy to be here before you on a day like Oscar mentioned earlier. I too have been looking forward to this day. I grew up not very far from here, actually about a block down the road on the corner of Avalon Drive and Resaca Drive until I was 5 years old. And my sister used to walk me to First Baptist in the kindergarten right past this little walkway here, and she'd always joke that one day I'd wind up in the cemetery. When I was 5 years old, it was a pretty traumatic experience. Thanks, Brenda, for that. I've had the good fortune to work with many great people on this project, and I'm honored to have had a small role in getting the community to the point we're at in this wonderful day, where we start the necessary step of dredging the resacas. I was asked to speak about two portions, the environmental significance of dredging the resaca and the education and outreach opportunities, which we are making use of already and will continue to make use of. I think the board members and our previous speakers did such a great job discussing those environmental amenities. The good news is I'm going to cut off half of my speech so you guys can get right to the watching the actual excitement. One of the most important phases that is occurring concurrently with the Resaca dredging phase is the education and outreach work that many organizations are already working on. Nonprofit groups like Healthy Communities of Brownsville, the Rio Bravo Wildlife Institute, the Arroyo Colorado Conservancy have received grants and continue to work on grants that directly engage young students and interested citizens with resacas. These three organizations and many others are really watching with earnest what we're doing here in Brownsville and are really happy that Brownsville, particularly Brownsville PUB and the city of Brownsville, have taken the lead and funded this project with our own money. Now it's our task to go out and take that investment and leverage it for additional dollars into the community, because I can tell you, with the drought happening here in the state of Texas, with all of the pressures on environmental amenities happening throughout the United States, funding organizations really, really consider highly when cities and municipalities and citizens pay their own way on a project. And so I think we have a tremendous potential to get additional funds to do other aspects of this Resaca Restoration Project, because the dredging is a vital first step, a vital important first step, but it's only one of many steps that are going to have to continue. Stormwater pollution prevention and control, the bank stabilization, restoring the riparian forest around this area, around the resacas, all of them dependent on additional room in the resacas that we're going to be giving by dredging them. A little story about some of the work we've done. Recently, a coalition of member institutions, including UT Brownsville, BISD, the Idea Academy of Brownsville, St. Joseph Academy, Episcopal Day School, Brownsville Early College High School, and of course the City of Brownsville and the Brownsville Public Utilities Board worked together to submit a proposal to the education branch of the EPA entitled Resaca Rangers. This was led by myself, Dr. Alejandro Fierro, and Dr. Wei Lin, and of course the energy and initiative of a graduate biology student, Jessica Schultz. This exciting concept would partner graduate and undergraduate biology and environmental science students with K through 12 teachers at schools around the city. Teachers and students would monitor their nearby resacas, the resaca that's closest to their school, and publish the results online. Resaca Rangers would learn about the environment, water chemistry, and most importantly, provide needed baseline water quality data on resacas. They would be producing meaningful data for the work that they're going to be seeing right in front of their very school. Data that would assist the dredging and restoration project move forward. We're really excited about this proposal, and we're eagerly awaiting word on whether we get funding. And I can promise you, if we don't win this particular very competitive grant, we're going to continue to work until we get this concept funded. Many UTB undergraduates have and continue to work hand in hand with the dredging project. In fact, the water quality monitoring portion of this work is largely being led by a senior environmental science student, Ms. Monica Delgado. Monica, please stand. Monica, after completing her internship with PUB, took the initiative and worked with Rene Mariscal to make the most out of limited resources. Combining technical and financial resources from both UTB and PUB have enabled us to purchase continuous monitoring probes that are at this very moment collecting important water quality data in this resaca before, during, and after the dredging project. And they're portable, so we'll be able to move these 4 probes throughout each of the resacas to determine the results on water quality of this dredging project. Biology students led by Dr. Richard Klein, who I see in the back over there, have assisted with fish sampling and biological assessments of the resacas, providing the city and PUB with essential ecological baseline data. Really, there is no shortage of opportunities and methods to merge the exciting work you're going to see start today with innovative and low-cost education and outreach efforts. In concluding, I've come to see that resacas are something that nearly everyone in our community can rally around. I cannot express again how excited and happy I am to see this work commence. Enough talking already, right? Let's get to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Benavides. I would like to ask if Resaca Cortez, Chief of Staff for Congressman Vela, would like to come up and say a few words? No? Okay. Just wanted to check with you. Okay, thank you. Many thanks to today's program speakers. Before we go on to the last portion of our program, I would like to take the opportunity to ask all of you to look at the wonderful work that was done to prepare for our ceremony today. This is just another example of the collaboration of entities that are working together to accomplish more in Brownsville. In this case, the Brownsville PUB and the City Commission. We are now almost at the conclusion of our ceremony and are now ready to proceed to the official launch site of the project. At this time, I invite board members, City Commission, and special guests to join us at the dredge launch site. We can follow the mayor down to the bank of the Resaca, where there will be some great photo opportunities, and for the official launch of the Resaca Restoration Project. We may then proceed to a tour of the dewatering station. After the tour, you may return to your shuttles so we can take you back to your vehicles. Again, thank you very much for your presence here today and for your continued acceptance and support for the betterment of Brownsville. Thank you.
Can everybody hear me? Including the guys on the dredger? Where are they? They're inside. Good. You ready, Lucy? Okay. Gentlemen, start your engine. Go. Yeah! Yeah! All right, let's go. Help me push. There we go. Watch that. Y'all stay with us. to let you explain what that process is happening there, and also explain to the right where these gentlemen are standing up here in the walkway, so you can explain to the press, the media, and the public, okay?
Okay, what you see, the first...
Everybody here?
Can you guys hear me? Keep my mouth close to the microphone. What you see up on top, upper left, that's the material that is actually being pumped from the dredge. As you saw the dredge earlier by the cemetery tent. As soon as they turn that thing on, within 30 seconds or so, the material starts making it up there, up on top. That unit up on top, that's a fiber snap, and what that is the shaker. Essentially, that begins the separation of your larger materials, your larger debris, and just below it, you see at the end of that unit, you see the material falling. That's your larger trash, so to speak, and that's the material we'll collect via dump truck, and off it goes to the landfill. The liquid, see it right underneath the unit, goes on to that next tank, which begins the process of separating your finer sand, your finer material. Where the second guy is down at one below the ladder, that's an area where we start collecting some of the sand. That sand can be used for numerous purposes. So we start separating the larger material, smaller, and on and so forth. Eventually, your slurry from that mixed tank at the very back works its way down that black pipe that you see way in the background, all the way up to these screens. These are what are called aqua screens, and these screens at this point is where we start adding polymer to begin some additional separation. That's where eventually we create a block, and then we start the material, the larger material falls onto the containers. What you see down here at the bottom is our end product, right underneath these spring containers. That's the end product. That's the material that we'll use our dump trucks. We'll load them onto our dump trucks and take them out to a temporary storage site that we have by our water plant. This screen, right within these green boxes, we'll have these screens that are up here to the left. These screens are actually within the containers that are helping us through that last filtration process.
What you see here is the stripping of the solids from the water, and the end result being clear water discharge back to the waterway. Obviously, this water is going into the canal, which feeds the Resaca, but what we're doing is operating in thousands of gallons per minute and removing particulates from the water that are about 120,000 times finer than the diameter of a human hair. So the technology behind this is really critical to be able to get to that water cleanliness. So the 5-step process that you see happening here all occurs within about 30 seconds. The removal of the coarse material by this machine that you see on the left that separates that coarse material and is a non-blinding screen, so it can continually operate. The polymer that's added, to the material as it's being pumped creates a floccule, which is a joining together through an electromagnetic charge creating a floccule that we can separate on the screen surface, and that the green boxes that you see in the background provide a filtering mechanism that creates the clear water. So we're looking for dry solids that are truckable, stackable, and clear water that goes back to the waterways, so the ecosystems are advantaged. This system can handle 1,500 to 2,000 gallons per minute, and can process in the neighborhood of 800 cubic yards per day.
Okay, I invite everybody, more particularly the media, to be sure and take pictures of the end result, the water as it's coming out, and do us a favor for the city of Brownsville and make sure we get it out on the social media, the regular print, television, any which way we can to show the people what's happening in Brownsville. Thank you all for coming out here, and make yourselves at home. Any questions you have, the PUB employees are here. The people from Genesis are here, so feel free. This is your community. Thank you.